Welcome back to the Sykesvillain channel, and this is another episode of Griff. Okay, so starting off first, just a couple little things I forgot to mention in the last video. Two other movies that I recently saw on Hulu and that I believe are still available on there for free is Thirst is the first one, which is I believe a Korean vampire horror. And I thought it was pretty good. It's kind of a horror or Korean horror cult classic, and I heard a lot about it. A lot of people really like it. I thought it was pretty interesting, pretty new, original take on vampirism or the whole vampire myth. It's worth checking out if you're into vampire horror. The other one I watched was The Vigil, which is a Jewish paranormal horror movie, which I also thought was very original because you don't see a lot of paranormal horror about like the Jewish faith or Orthodox Jewish faith. It's more about the exorcisms and Catholic type paranormal stuff, demons and stuff like that. So I thought it was pretty good at building suspense and tension throughout the whole movie. Yeah, also worth checking out for sure. Before we get into the new stuff, I managed to pick this up the other day at Walmart. It is the full Saw collection on Blu-ray. I was kind of waiting and watching, visiting my local Walmart just because I knew Spiral was coming out. Thought and hoped that they would have some Saw releases, and we saw the new 4K version of Saw come out, but this is what I was waiting for. I'm only interested in the first 3 Saw films, the trilogy, the original trilogy. You get all 8 films on here, but it was only $15. So I mean, even though it's all 8 films and I only wanted the first 3, it's still a good pickup. So there's the front, there's the back. Pretty simplistic design on this collection. The cover could be better, but more interested with what's inside. My favorites for the first half / my recommendations would be Zack Snyder's Justice League, aka the director's cut. Highly recommend that if you haven't already checked it out. It is long. You might want to split it up into 2 different viewings. And it's broken up into parts, so it is easy to split it up if you wanted to. Next one would be Netflix's Awake, which is a very high-paced, high-octane action thriller with horror elements. It's a Netflix original, and I thought it was really well done, really kept me on the edge of my seat, really bothered me. Like, there was some elements in there that, were very disturbing, and I can't say that happens too often for me anymore for a, avid horror watcher. The next one, this is probably pretty obvious to a lot of people, Netflix's and R.L. Stine's Fear Street trilogy. Highly recommend that. They were very good. I would say the first one had the more likable characters. The second one is where it's at for the gore, for sure. Didn't mean to rhyme. And then the third one, believe it or not, the third one takes place back in, I can't remember the exact time period, but it's, it's back in like settler times, which I feel like it's very difficult to make a good, solid horror movie set in that time period. If you think about it, if you look back on other horror movies that have attempted it. The third one is actually the strongest of all three films. Now, of course, they do flash forward back into the present day in the films, which is the 90s, at the end of the film to wrap everything up. But I feel like they wrapped it up very nicely. If Fear Street had been a standalone film, well, I don't think it would have worked because there's too much story there to tell. But I don't think it would have been as good, and I wouldn't have liked it as much. I wouldn't be recommending it as much. But as a trilogy, highly recommend it. And I also thought it was just really cool for Netflix to do something like this versus put out yet another series. Which series? I feel like there's new ones coming out every day. To put out this trilogy kind of all at once, or like one a week in July, was just really cool. I love that, and I hope to see Netflix do something like this in the future. Okay, moving on to recent news. The Suicide Squad got a new poster, and we found out that it is releasing one day early on HBO Max. So it's releasing the evening of the 5th of August. And I believe it's releasing like around 7 p.m. So if you wanted to watch it early, the night before the scheduled release date, and you have HBO Max, then you can. The third Ant-Man film has been changed to be a second Ant-Man and the Wasp film. So, like, to finish up the Ant-Man trilogy, they originally put out on their release schedule that it was going to just be an Ant-Man film, but they've since changed that, and now it's going to be Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I am all for. I'm definitely pro Ant-Man and the Wasp versus just Ant-Man standalone. Thor: Love and Thunder to release sometime in 2022, and then Guardians 3 to release sometime early 2023. And director James Gunn is returning. We're continuing to see some minor pushbacks of a lot of films. Speaking of that, Ghostbusters 3 release has been pushed back to November, but we got to see a second trailer featuring original cast appearing, like original cast from the original 2 films, and some new footage. So that was very cool. Jordan Peele's Candyman trailer came out, and that film is due out sometime between October and November of this year. And then also, in other news of Jordan Peele, he announced his new film called Nope, and a poster for that via Twitter. My most anticipated for the last half of 2021. Pig, which is a new drama thriller starring Nicolas Cage. It looks very good. It's been getting very good reviews, so I'm excited about that. Dexter follow-up miniseries based on the book Dexter is Dead. That will be premiering on Showtime. I don't have Showtime, so I'll be waiting a little bit longer to watch that, but I'm looking forward to that. I think it will eventually get released on Hulu. I believe that's where the rest of Dexter is currently, on Hulu. I believe you can watch all of Dexter, the original series, there. Disney's Jungle Cruise has released on Disney Plus and in theaters. We got a trailer for Army of Thieves, which is a prequel to Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. And I believe it falls in the middle of the trilogy. So it would go Dawn of the Dead, Army of Thieves, Army of the Dead. That's due out also sometime between October and November of this year, surprisingly enough. And we just got a trailer for that. It looks okay. I don't think it's going to include any zombies. It takes place in Europe, I think Germany mostly. The Walking Dead full extended 10th season released on Netflix recently. And like I said before, the 11th season will be the final season for that show. Low-key Scream Queen Thora Birch joins the cast. Speaking of Thora Birch, she also has a new thriller out right now for rental called Above Suspicion, which looks pretty good. I plan on checking that out. It's on my watch list. And she is also set to star in a Hocus Pocus sequel, which is due out during the Halloween season of 2022. I'm really looking forward to that. She's one of my all-time favorite actresses. Okay, new to streaming. So my recommendations and what I'm watching. On Netflix, there is The Devil Below, which is a new horror film. I'm not sure exactly what the synopsis is. I know it has to do something with a mine in a small mining town. It might be a creature feature. And then also on Netflix, How It Ends, which is a apocalyptic thriller starring Forrest Whitaker. On Hulu, there is Every Breath You Take, which is a new drama thriller starring Casey Affleck. Exit Plan, another drama thriller. Donnybrook, which is like an action thriller about like illegal street fighting. 47 Meters Down, which came out a while ago. Since then has had a sequel, but when it originally came out, I just never got around to watching it. On Amazon Prime, we have Rear Window, one of Alfred Hitchcock's classics, and that's another movie that I just sort of missed, for so long now, and I'm going to finally check that out. Butchers, which is a new horror movie. I believe it came out in 2020. Anna, it's on Amazon Prime, but it's actually on IMDb, so it has ads. It's like a spy action thriller, I believe. On Shudder, there's actually a bunch of new horrors releasing throughout the summer, including Jacob's Wife, and there's a bunch of new ones on there right now that you can watch, including Der Bunker, which I believe is a German horror thriller. It looks pretty bizarre, pretty interesting. There's also some new horror available to rent right now, which I'm very excited for. In the Earth, which is a new film by Ben Wheatley. I love him as a director. I've seen everything he's done. So this kind of just flew under the radar for me. I just found out about this. I'm definitely really excited to check that out. And then on HBO Max, again, as I've said, Suicide Squad 2, aka The Suicide Squad, is releasing. By the time this video comes out, has released, so you can check that out. And then Reminiscence, Hugh Jackman drama thriller, sci-fi, releases later this month. Thanks for tuning in to another very exciting episode of Griff Picks, if I do say so myself. And I will catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.